The Seattle Seahawks just won Super Bowl 60, and instead of celebrating, they went and made the most dangerous move in the entire NFL. Not a trade, not a blockbuster free agent signing. They locked in the future of their franchise before anyone even realized what was happening. Sam Darnold led this team to a 14-3 record, threw for 4,048 yards with 25 touchdowns, and became only the second quarterback in NFL history to lead two different teams to 14 win seasons in back-to-back years. That is not a fluke. That is a man who found his home, found his confidence, and dragged an entire city to a championship. The Seahawks beat the New England Patriots 29-13 in the biggest game of the year. And Darnold did it with 0 turnovers across the entire postseason after leading the league in turnovers during the regular season. Think about that for a second. The guy everybody doubted for years flipped a switch when it mattered the most. And now, he is sitting on a 3-year, $100 million deal with a front office that publicly said they want him as their quarterback for a long time. But the real move that should have every team in the NFC losing sleep happened 5 days ago. Jackson Smith-Njigba signed a 4-year, $168.6 million extension with $120 million guaranteed, the richest receiver contract in NFL history. This is the same player who led the entire league with 1,793 receiving yards, earned first-team All-Pro, won Offensive Player of the Year, and caught the passes that helped bring a Lombardi trophy back to Seattle. He is 24 years old. He just told reporters that the only thing better than 1 Super Bowl is 2. And now, he is locked in through 2031 alongside Cooper Kupp, who is still on this roster, making plays at $13.5 million. Mike McDonald is still running a defense that forced the 6th most takeaways in the league last season. Devin Witherspoon is still there. Leonard Williams is still there. This roster did not just survive the offseason. It came out of it looking like the same team that won it all, except now the foundational pieces are cemented for years. Here's what nobody in the national media is paying attention to, though. While every camera was pointed at the Rams and the 49ers trying to make big splashy moves this offseason, John Schneider was quietly playing the long game. He let certain players walk on purpose. He re-signed specific guys at the exact right price. And he hired an offensive coordinator, straight from a division rival that could unlock another level of this offense. The best part is, most people think Seattle got worse because of the names that left. What they do not realize is that Schneider might have just pulled off the smartest offseason in the entire NFC West. And it all starts with the players he chose to let go, and why that decision was the real power move. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Seahawks and all the NFL content. Can we get 1,000 likes on this video? The moment the confetti stopped falling, every team in the league started circling Seattle's roster like sharks. And they got what they came for. Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, signed with the Kansas City Chiefs for 3 years and up to $45 million. Boy Mafia took 3 years and $60 million from the Cincinnati Bengals. Kobe Bryant left for Chicago on a 3-year, $40 million deal. Rick Woolen signed a 1-year contract with the Philadelphia Eagles worth $12 million. 4 real contributors. 4 significant paychecks, gone in a matter of days. From the outside looking in, that feels like a championship team falling apart before the trophy even gets dusty. But John Schneider has been doing this longer than most general managers in the league. He understands something that casual fans and even some media members miss every single offseason. When you win the Super Bowl, the salary cap becomes your biggest opponent. Every player on your roster suddenly has leverage. Every agent is asking for top dollar. And if you try to keep everyone, you end up handcuffed for 3 or 4 years with no flexibility to build forward. Schneider made a calculated decision. He identified who was foundational and who was replaceable at the right price. That is not cold. That is smart roster management from a general manager who has done this at an elite level for over a decade. The proof is in the numbers. Seattle still has over $32 million in cap space heading into the draft. They still have the 8th most cap room in the entire NFL, even after giving Jackson Smith-Njigba his record-breaking extension. Schneider did not panic. He did not chase nostalgia. He let the market overpay his guys and kept his powder dry for the moves that actually matter. And the players he chose to keep over the ones who left might be the most underrated decisions of this entire offseason. Start with Rashid Shaheed, because this is the one that turned heads. 3 years, $51 million for a receiver who only arrived mid-season through a trade from New Orleans. Sounds wild until you remember what he actually did. 3 kick and punt return touchdowns in half a season, including one that directly helped Seattle lock up the #1 seed in the NFC. His deep speed stretches every defense the moment he steps on the field. You cannot replace that kind of explosive ability on a roster that already has elite pass catchers. Schneider saw the value, and he made sure Shaheed stayed in Seattle before anyone else could even pick up the phone. Then there is Josh Jobe. 3 years, $24 million. $8 million a year for a cornerback who started 15 of 16 regular season games, recorded 12 passes defensed, an interception, and then started all 3 postseason games on the way to a championship. He was splitting time with Woolen last year and honestly outplayed him down the stretch. At $8 million per season compared to $12 million for Woolen on a 1-year deal in Philadelphia, this is the kind of value signing that wins you repeat titles. Quiet, smart, and exactly what a defending champion needs. But the depth moves are what separate good front offices from great ones. Drake Thomas got locked up on a multi-year deal after breaking out as a starter with 89 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. Josh Jones came back to protect the offensive line. Brady Russell returned as one of the best special teams players on the roster. Emmanuel Wilson was signed from Green Bay as a running back who flashed real talent whenever he got touches. None of these names generate headlines. Every single one of them wins football games. And Seattle just added a new offensive coordinator who could change everything about how this team attacks. Clint Kubiak left to become the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He took quarterbacks coach Andrew Janaka with him. That is your offensive coordinator and your QB coach gone in the same offseason after winning a Super Bowl. Most teams would panic. Mike McDonald did not even flinch. He went straight to San Francisco and hired Brian Fleury, the man who served as run game coordinator and tight ends coach under Kyle Shanahan for the last 7 seasons. Seattle literally pulled one of the sharpest offensive minds in football from a division rivals building, and the 49ers could do nothing about it. Fleury is not some unknown gamble either. He worked directly with Christian McCaffrey during a season where McCaffrey put up over 2,100 yards from scrimmage. He coached George Kittle for years. He knows the Shanahan system inside and out because he helped build pieces of it. The best part is that Kubiak's offense in Seattle was already rooted in that same system, so the transition is almost seamless. Fleury said it himself. His goal is to maintain what Kubiak installed while adding layers that he developed in San Francisco. The Seahawks finished 3rd in scoring offense last season, averaging 28.4 points per game. Fleury does not need to reinvent anything, he just needs to refine it. What makes this hire even more interesting is the style of offense Fleury wants to run. He believes in using 2 to 3 running backs consistently, keeping legs fresh throughout the season. He wants to be aggressive from a tempo standpoint and put constant pressure on defenses, both schematically and physically. That philosophy is going to matter a lot when you look at how the rest of the NFC West spent their offseason trying to catch up to Seattle. The San Francisco 49ers signed Mike Evans on a 3-year, $42 million deal. That sounds great on paper, until you realize Evans has been dealing with injuries for 2 consecutive seasons. A receiver who once had 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons is now fighting to stay on the field consistently. They also added Christian Kirk, a player who has not been fully effective or healthy for 3 straight years. Meanwhile, the Trent Williams situation is a ticking time bomb. San Francisco wants to lower his $37 million cap hit, but he has zero incentive to take less money. If they cannot work out a new deal, a trade or release becomes a real possibility. Losing a franchise left tackle in the middle of a window is not ideal for any team trying to compete. On top of that, the 49ers lost Jawan Jennings after bringing in Evans. And honestly, at this stage of their careers, Jennings might have been the more reliable option. They brought back Dre Greenlaw, but he is past his best years. None of the other additions they made truly moved the needle in a meaningful way. This is a team that is treading water, trying to stay relevant while their core slowly ages out of its prime. The pieces they added are names, not solutions. Now look at the Los Angeles Rams. They spent significant money and draft capital to bring in Jalen Watson, but then somehow let Roger McCreary walk for just $1.4 million after trading for him at the deadline last year. That is a baffling decision for a team trying to close the gap on a Super Bowl champion. Neither of these rosters got meaningfully better this offseason, and the team sitting at the top of this division knows it, which is exactly why Jackson Smith-Njigba had no problem calling both of them out publicly. Jackson Smith-Njigba showed up at a UFC promotion recently, and someone asked him which cornerback he would want to face in the octagon. His first answer was Devin Witherspoon, because, in his own words, that guy is wild. Fair enough. Two teammates having fun. But then JSN said something that made the entire NFC West pay attention. He looked straight at the camera and said he would happily get in the ring with anyone from the LA Rams or the San Francisco 49ers. No hesitation, no filter. Just pure confidence from a man who spent the last 12 months proving he is the best receiver in football. That kind of energy does not come from nowhere. This is a player who just broke the Seattle Seahawks franchise receiving record. A player who torched every secondary he faced on the way to a championship. When you lead the league in receiving yards at 24 years old, win Offensive Player of the Year, and catch passes in the Super Bowl with the entire world watching, you earn the right to talk. And JSN is not just talking. He is sending a message to two division rivals that Seattle is not afraid of anyone. The love lost between these three teams is exactly zero. And JSN wants everyone to know that the Seahawks are not looking over their shoulder. They are looking straight ahead. What makes this even more powerful is the timing. JSN made these comments right around the same time he signed the richest receiver deal in NFL history. He told reporters at his extension press conference that this is home, and there are not enough words to describe his love for the city. That combination of loyalty, talent, and fearlessness is rare in the NFL. And while JSN handles the personality side, Seattle's front office might be about to hand him even more weapons through the draft. Seattle holds pick 32 in the first round and pick 64 in the second. Only 4 total picks in this draft after trading selections away for Shaheed last season. That is a light haul for a general manager who loves to stockpile picks. But what if those 2 selections alone completely transform the roster? Field Yates released his latest 2-round mock draft and gave the Seahawks a dream scenario that would make every fan in the Pacific Northwest lose their mind. At pick 32, he has Seattle selecting Ivan Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson. This kid forced 5 fumbles in the 2025 season alone, held opposing quarterbacks to barely over a 50% completion rate against him, and can play outside or in the slot. Some mocks have him going as early as the late teens. Getting a rookie talent like that at 32 would be a steal. At pick 64, Yates has the Seahawks grabbing Jadarian Price, the running back from Notre Dame, who played behind Jeremiah Love. Price is physical, fast, and capable of breaking away in open space. He is exactly the kind of runner Brian Fleury wants in his system. Someone who can rotate in, stay fresh, and still hit the end zone. With Zach Charbonnet recovering from a torn ACL and likely missing the start of the season, Seattle needs a rookie back who can step in from day one. There is also the possibility that John Schneider trades back from 32 entirely. Quarterback Ty Simpson is generating serious buzz as a potential first-round pick, and teams desperate for a signal caller might be willing to trade up to grab him before he falls out of that valuable fifth-year option range. Schneider has traded back in the first round multiple times throughout his career, and this draft could be the perfect setup for another classic move. But there is still one more hole on this roster that needs addressing before the season starts. The pass rush lost its edge when Boy Maff left for Cincinnati. That is the one gap on this roster that still needs a real answer, and the free agent market has some fascinating options sitting right there waiting for a phone call. Cam Jordan is still one of the most complete edge players in the league, someone who can set the edge against the run and collapse the pocket on passing downs at an elite level. Jadeveon Clowney already knows what it feels like to wear a Seahawks jersey. He has played in this system before, understands the expectations, and could slide right back into the rotation without missing a beat. Then there is Joey Bosa, a name that carries serious weight. Bosa has dealt with injuries, but in a reduced role where Seattle does not need him on the field for every snap. His sack numbers could climb right back to where they were during his prime years on the West Coast. On the safety side, the transition is already handled. Ty Okada stepped into a starting role last season and delivered 65 tackles, 6 passes defensed, and an interception across 11 starts. He is the natural successor to Kobe Bryant and showed enough in the championship run to earn that trust. Seattle also added Rodney Thomas and DeAnthony Bell for depth, giving Mike McDonald multiple options to rotate through his secondary without losing defensive integrity. This is what makes Seattle's position so terrifying for the rest of the NFC. They do not need a miracle. They do not need a franchise-altering trade or a massive free agent splash. One smart signing at edge rusher, one mid-round draft pick that hits, and this roster goes from defending champion to the most complete team in football. Schneider has built championship rosters before. He knows exactly how to find that final piece at the perfect price. And if history tells us anything, he already has a name circled on his board.